The Rituals, written and performed by author Caitlin Costello. Chapter 25. Baron. Baron swings his leg over his horse's back and lands with a soft thud. The insides of his legs are sore from riding, and he's going to be walking bow-legged for the next few days. Alois is worse. Months of sitting and occasionally pacing around his cell have left his legs weak, the muscles slowly disintegrating. He nearly falls when he dismounts, his legs giving out from underneath him. "Whoa," Alois says, pulling himself back up with the horse's saddle. "I need to get used to that again." Baron smiles and takes Alois's horse from him so the other elf could go sit down. "I'm sure we can do some riding to get used to it, unless you would prefer to walk all over the city." Alois doesn't respond. He just hobbles over to sit on a bench in the middle of the yard outside the inn, where Nurzon had rented out apartments for Baron. "Do you want to go check in, or would you rather that I did that after we get the horses situated?" Alois looks at the building, then at the barn. "It would probably be best if we went in together." A stable boy comes up and stares as he takes the horse from them. Baron tosses him a coin and walks over to Alois. "Remember, I'm not meant to be a Dark One right now to let me get close to people. I'm meant to be me, on top of that, and I'm already going to have enough of an issue being stared at because of how I look. I don't need people staring, or worse, running away from me because of who my father is. Come on, let's get settled," Baron says, slinging his bag over his shoulder. The inn his father had chosen was not fancy by any means. It is perfect for this sort of thing. No one would suspect this place. It has faded oak planks that have a few torches mounted on the outside to light the inn at night. They make their way into the room and look around the pub. Baron walks up to the counter and sits down, waiting for the bartender to notice them. Baron waves the man down and the barkeep comes over, leaning against the counter. "What can I do for you, gentlemen?" the man asks, wiping off the bar with a cloth that needed to be washed yesterday. Baron looks at the man. He's skinny. Most of the bartenders that Baron had ever met were always on the rounder side, like they snuck food and drinks all the time while on the job. This bartender is lean, but robust. The kind of man that wouldn't need another man to help him if a fight broke out in his tavern. "Hello, my name is Baron. I have an apartment reserved here. Is it available now?" "Ah, Master Baron, I'm glad you made it this morning. I hope that you will be pleased with the accommodations." He comes around the bar and shakes Baron's hand. "I'm eager to see the rooms as well. I've heard good things about them." "You run a tight ship, Master?" Baron asks. "Jansen. Master Jansen. I try to keep my rooms in the best conditions. I don't often hear bad things," he says, leading Baron and Alois down the hall. The hall is made of the same oak paneling from outside on the bottom of the walls, with dark blue paint on the top. It makes the hall feel dark, but comfortable. Jansen turns at the second door on the left, opens the door to a staircase. "Your apartments are on the top floor, so you won't have to worry about being bothered by neighbors. One of the perks about having my apartments." He opens the door and leads the two into the room. Baron nods in acknowledgement, but he's too busy scanning the room. He's too busy scanning the room that he would be staying in for the next few weeks. It is large, but he notices that it feels slightly cramped with the furniture that is in it. You can tell what the standard furniture of the room is, and what is newly added with the knowledge that there was going to be a second inhabitant of the room. There's one large wardrobe at the end of the room, with a bed next to it, pressed into the corner, and a second smaller bed mirroring the first on the opposite side of the room. The beds each have their own trunk at the end of the bed. A porcelain pitcher and a bowl on the washstand near the door, the coat rack next to it. "Thank you, Master Jansen." "You are welcome, Master Baron. I'll leave you to it. If you need anything else, I will be downstairs," Jansen says with a small bow before leaving and closing the door. "Well, Alois, what do you think?" Baron asks, moving into the room and dropping his bag on the bed. "I think that bed over there looks very nice, and is calling my name. I need to rest my legs for a bit," Alois says, dropping onto the bed with a sigh. "I'm feeling it now. You'll probably be feeling it again tomorrow as well," he says, pulling his boots off and massaging his ankles. "What are you planning to get done today?" Baron leans back against his pillows. As much as I would like to rest as well, I feel like I need to begin exploring the city. It isn't the city I know anymore. He feels a hint of sadness creeping into his voice. It was something he was going to have to repress while he was here. He was here on a job, even if it was one he didn't want to do. Baron wouldn't be surprised if his father would have assigned him a man or two to watch his progress. He knew that the idea of being able to just track down a man or woman that had not yet been tested would be slim to none. "Can I borrow your map?" he asks, sitting back up. "Of course," Alois says, reaching into a bag and pulling out a folded bit of parchment. Baron unfolds the map of the city. It has the original ink markings all over it, but also with charcoal markings that Alois had made all over to represent the places he had been to. "Thank you. I'll be back in a few hours," he says, rising from the bed. Baron digs into his bag and pulls out a knife and slips it under his belt. "I want to see the city, my city," he says, making his way to the door. "Don't let the changes get to you too much." Baron nods and heads out the door and down the stairs. He sees that the horses have been taken care of, their two heads hanging over their stall doors, and he follows a lane back around the outside of the inn. Baron looks down at the map in his hand. Left or right? Which way should he start? Right. He will go right. Baron wants to find his childhood home. He wants to find the last place his mother had ever been seen. He wants to get lost in the city and never return to his father's side in the dark castle on the hill. The road is dirty. Puddles of brown sludge on the sides of the road are hard to avoid when people press their way through on horseback, not caring if they take people out. "Who is that guy?" Baron asks one small woman on the side of the road when the two of them are nearly taken out by a wagon wheel. The woman adjusts her headscarf and spits on the sidewalk. "Dark ones. You would think that they would leave now. They'd done enough. But no, this seems to be their new base. That castle on the outside of the city, that used to belong to our king. But they just killed him, and then replaced him with their higher rule. An oppressive tyranny is what I call it. But what would I know?" She huffs. She is dirty. The amount of grime that cakes her body is like a second skin. Baron wishes he could do something to comfort this woman, who seems lost in her own city. "This used to be my home," he says. "My father took me away when everything happened. This is my first time back." "Why would you come back? You're probably better off where you were." "Anywhere is better than here," she replies, bitterness staining her voice. She adjusts her headscarf again, making sure that it lies just right against her head. Gives Baron another once-over, then leaves, making sure to avoid the puddles that now stain the bottom of her dress. Baron turns down another road to his right that seems not to get as much foot traffic. He realizes why fairly quickly. Down here, the torchlight doesn't seem to penetrate the darkness as well. The sadness that hangs in the air is like fog, clouding the vision of all there. The filth he had narrowly avoided before is everywhere. He can feel it soaking up into the cracks of his boots. Bodies lean against the walls, cringing away from him as he walks. The old woman from before seems spotless compared to these people. "Sir?" a shy boy asks, tugging on his sleeve. "Do you have any spare coins?" He puts out his dirty hands expectantly. Apparently this boy was used to people who wandered down here giving up their coin at the sign of his dirty little body. Baron shakes his head. "I'm sorry, lad. I don't have anything for you." He begins turning on his pockets. With each bunch of fabric that comes up empty, the child's shoulders slump a bit more and more. "I'm poor as well. Spent all of my money to come back here. To go away from the dangers I had at home. I need to find a job." The boy nods, understanding they are both in the same struggle. He wanders away, looking for a new target to get coinage off of. Baron feels the coins in his breast pocket burning like a hot poker on his chest. His father's notebook had warned him that the poor of this city were desperate with their begging. He had made sure to remind Baron to always keep any money he carried with him in a breast pocket to avoid being pickpocketed. Baron continues down the road past the other beggars. They had all watched when the boy approached, and since seeing he wasn't a worthy target, turned their eyes elsewhere as well. Baron pulls out his map at a street corner and glances at a sign, comparing it to his map. He isn't far now. He turns down a road to his right, moving back towards where the people move faster and have places to go. He picks up his own pace as well, hoping to use their momentum to mask him. And you would have known the moment we embraced any magic. Till All the Stars Are Found, my newest book, is now available for pre-order. This young adult science fiction novel will be published on March 6th, 2021. Click the link in the show notes to see where you can pick up the book today. While I have you here, I wanted to share the back matter of the book. Joining the Galactic Garrison was the best decision that Ada Gomez ever made for herself. Or so she thought. Orphaned with her brother Sarkis in the foster system, who she can't claim custody of, a guardian who is days from kicking her out, and no job, there is nothing left for her on planet Earth. The only thing going for her is that she has made it. After 3 years of work, Ada has qualified to begin training for the esteemed Special Operations Team on the Galactic Garrison Space Station. Joining the Spec Ops Division is a chance to start over, to make a name for herself. And if she plays her cards right, maybe Ada can get Sarkis back. But her journey is just beginning. Being in the Spec Ops isn't easy. It isn't supposed to be. Any sign of weakness must be squashed. Fear is the devil, and hesitation is worse than death. But some of the training doesn't add up, and any semblance of structure? It looks like Ada left that back on Earth. Ada and her team do their best to put the pieces together and figure out what exactly is going on, and roll with the punches, both mentally and physically, to come out on top. Little do they know, the hardest test is yet to come. Because this year, everything is different. Until All the Stars Are Found, a young adult science fiction novel, is now available for pre-order. Its publication date is March 6th, 2021. Hi everybody, this is Caitlin Costello, the author and narrator of The Rituals. If you've enjoyed this podcast so far, please leave a review or a rating where you listened. It really helps to get the podcast in front of more people. If you can't possibly wait for another episode of The Rituals, fear not, because the full audiobook is now available. A slew of stores, including Google Play, Apple, HiBooks, Scribd, Chirp, Kobo, Walmart, audiobooks.com, and Nook Audiobooks. And it's being added to more stores every single day. It's also available at your local library, so if you request it from your library, they should be able to get it into their system fairly quickly. I am running a sale currently on signed print editions of the book, and these are 20% off using code SPOOKY through October 31st. That is code SPOOKY through October 31st from CaitlinCostello.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. This has been a production of The Rituals, written and performed by Caitlin Costello. Text copyright 2018 to Caitlin Costello. Production copyright 2020 Caitlin Costello.